Alrighty. Technical difficulties.
As always.
As always. Check everybody.
A couple of rednecks trying to figure out computer stuff.
Yeah.
We got two computers out here. You think one would work?
No. Of course not. Alrighty. Oh, we're checking audios on everything. All right, come on. You can go live. You can do it. Oh, we are trying. YouTube's good. And Facebook, which was pain in our side last time, is not live. Why is Facebook not live?
It's always lagging behind the other ones.
I know it is. Oh, I need a live description? Of course we do. There. All right. I think we're going. We've been going on YouTube. We're now live on Facebook, finally. And we got it figured out on the Bullhorn. So my computer decided to take the perfect time to update itself. So we're a little bit flustered behind the 8-ball. 18 minutes behind.
Not terrible.
Yeah, it is what it is. We're trying.
I'm a little late to most things in my life, so.
Yeah, we're trying. So just going to check the audio on Facebook, and that's good. All good over there.
Facebook's down.
Platt
says there you are. I think he's on YouTube.
But we're good now on Facebook, thankfully. All right, so
here we are.
Sit back, relax a little bit, and enjoy the shit show. So tonight we're going to be announcing the winner of the scoring contest of Nate's Buck for a Whitetails and Whiskey hoodie giveaway. We have the scores in, and if you haven't dropped a score in, drop it into the comments now. We haven't had the exact score.
We got a couple close ones.
A couple really close ones. But nobody's hit it right on the button. So I guess we'll leave it up to you guys. Do you do it to the closest without going over? Because we have two people within 1/8 of an inch.
It's smack dab in the middle.
Smack dab in the middle of two guesses. So what do you guys think? Do we give it to the guy that was there, but 1/8 off being short, or 1/8 being long? I guess it's kind of just up for debate on it. But
I kind of like the closest one that didn't go over.
Closest without going over.
It's kind of easy, but we'll see what.
We'll see what people think on it. Other than that, for muzzleloader season, have you been out yet, Nate?
I have not. Yeah. Both my buck tags are filled. It's tough. I want to get my wife out. I want to try setting her up on something. But picking the kid up after work, she gets out at 3:30. We do hunt a spot a couple minutes from the house that I'll probably run over and set up for the last hour, 45 minutes. The in-laws are always good to us, and they're willing to watch Owen for the extra bit of time. But it's not over yet. We're going to try getting out at least once. Tonight actually seemed like a pretty sweet evening to go sit. But wasn't able to do it tonight. And we'll see what the coming days bring. Maybe we'll get out that holiday weekend. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll get out at least once with her.
Yep.
Still got a couple bucks cruising around.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, most of the bucks we were chasing have all been tagged or spoken for. At this point on the pieces I hunt.
Well, you and your dad had a good year.
Yep, me and Dad both tagged 2 nice bucks. It's the first time Dad's pretty sure he's tagged both bucks in a while. He's pretty sure that I don't think he's tagged 2 in the same year ever. He might be able to correct me on that, but well, at some points when he was first hunting, it was only 1 buck tag too. So I mean that would be a tagged out year. They've switched harvest tags and stuff like that. So it's different with the 2 buck, and we're gonna get probably a lot of flack for it, but shooting everybody's deer. Yeah. But
another one slots in.
Yep, another one will slot in. We've seen that. Got a lot of good up and comers, young guys coming in on camera. Seen a lot of good, bucks up and coming on a couple of my cameras that I was able to get out and pull. And but yeah, so we should probably do the whiskey of the night.
Yeah.
And when was the last time, Nate, you've had a 15-year-old knob?
A 15-year-old knob. I have never had a 15-year-old knob. I've sampled the 9.
Yep, you've had a 9-year-old knob.
I've had a 9-year-old knob. Good God.
But nothing on no 15s yet. So this is the most expensive whiskey we've done on the podcast. The good old 15-year-old knob is one of my top shelf ones that I've purchased, I guess, over the years. And that's what we're going to do to celebrate, what do you call them, Inside Kicker 10?
Yeah, the Inside Kicker 10 is what I called them when I first saw them on camera.
Yep.
So there's a few 10 points over there. I believe the one neighbor got one.
Yep.
Congratulations to him. I believe he got it with his bow. And there was him. And, there was another one, but he was a little more on the younger side. So.
Yep.
But maybe it might be something next year if he made it.
So yeah, the 9-year-old knob is a go-to. My dad likes that one. I like that one. And a little bit more of I guess an economy kind of bourbon.
Craig says, "Yup, closest without going over."
Tyler says closest, but Craig says closest without going over. Tyler says closest either side, and Mike Vienna says Deer Magnus. Yeah, you and me have hit deer with our trucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I got $8,000 on the driver's side of my truck right now.
Yep.
That was from the beginning of November. I guess, I brought my truck in to get it looked at. I called 4 different collision places around. And They were all, I hit this deer. When did Liza shoot her bull buck? Like November 7th or something like that?
It was fairly early on, yeah.
Yeah, it was early November.
Yep.
Because it was the same night I hit that deer.
Yep. And
they were all booked out to first of the year to mid-January. The one shop told me that they've already taken in 50 deer hits. That was beginning of November.
Apparently we're not killing them all, man.
Apparently there's a few out there.
Yep. So, good old 15-year-old knob is our go-to drinker of the night. And it's pretty spicy. Got a nice smell to it, but dude, it is a smooth whiskey.
That is a good sipper. For sure.
Smooth, kind of spicy, got that bourbon kind of spice to it.
We got to get Mike to call in on the bullhorn. Mike would be a good one. He'd call in, tell us how his deer season's going.
Yep, we could do that. We could definitely do that.
He's always an energetic guy.
Yep. Or maybe we'll do one from Mike's. I'm kind of gearing up to try to get this set up so we can take it on the road, so to speak. We've done the shed, we've done my place, but we got a couple.
Maybe we can do an episode of Deanna's garage. He's got a sweet garage set up.
Yep. We got a few people that we've been talking to about having on for different topics and stuff coming up. Once we get kind of through deer season, or even while we're still in deer season.
The idea I had today to get our buddy Andy on. Mm-hmm. I'm really hoping that goes through. I'm hoping he does that. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, because we've learned a lot of things this year talking to him about what to do and not to do. From field to process, really.
All the way from different things that and Andy's the guy that if we don't want to cut up our own deer, he's our processor. We bring it to, mm-hmm. And his family's been doing it He's been doing it for as long as I've been alive. My family's always brought deer to him. Yep. And it would be a lot of fun to have Andy on here and give give some, give some people a little pointers on, what processors like, what they don't like when the deer come in, what kind of helps them out with, their different cuts of meat, and and he can kind of explain the whole process of what they prefer, all the way from the shot all the way to the bringing it to their doorstep. And, I think that would be a good one. Hopefully, he can come through.
Yeah. And then we've talked to a couple guys that hunt public land about having them on to give some tips and pointers on some of that stuff.
Yeah, because you and me are a little more on the private side and the release side.
Yep.
And, it'd be nice to get that different perspective, because there are a ton of people out there, I think, that hunt public that I don't know if there's a whole lot of information out there for them. I mean, there's the hunting public guys.
Yep.
They do good. They're always successful. They're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But
get a New York,
get some local guys around here that hunt public and see what they do and how they're successful.
We're not going to ask them to give their pin drops away and stuff like that for their slamming spots, but it'd be good to have a couple of them on that have been successful on public, and successful doing it and taking some nice bucks on public too.
Yeah, so. I think Mike just brought up a good point.
Yep.
I mean, he's got a ton of followers on his hunting Facebook page, that Upstate New York Sportsman.
Yep.
We could actually probably do it in his thing and maybe stream one off, tie into his.
Yep.
I think that would definitely help us out, and I think that would be fun, Mike, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So Fred Simmons commenting in says, sadly, a lot less people are hunting now. Lots more deer running around. I saw 23 deer tonight just driving around from Savannah just before dark.
That seems to be what people are saying. I mean, a lot, at least for me, I guess I don't really know a whole lot of difference in the number of hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I've only been hunting the past 15 years.
Yep.
But talking to my father, my grandfather, my father-in-law, and they would tell me about these massive drives, and it was almost like a holiday. I mean, you got out of school pretty much to go out opening morning of deer season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a lot different.
Yep.
And I think the style of hunting's changed.
Mm-hmm. And again, the other thing is too, with the 23 deer, there's obviously pockets right now, especially if they're around a food source. That could be 23 deer from, several properties away as well. So I think you getting some skew this time of the year with food sources.
Yeah, they're going to get a little more concentrated right now, depending on what food's available. I agree.
Yep. But I think a lot of people can be a little apprehensive on shooting does. And I think that's kind of a good little topic while we, have a few sips and stuff like that to talk about with doe harvest. And I mean, there was a train of thought, I guess, in the early 2000s, I guess we'll call it, where QDMA kind of came out and said, shoot. The only good doe is a dead doe. Crosshairs, pull the trigger. And if you have to reduce deer numbers, that's the best way to do it, is to drop your deer numbers and check with your habitat. But I think you can't just put a broad brushstroke on it, for saying you just got to shoot does. You just got to shoot does. And what I've kind of come up with on some of the pieces I hunt, and it works really well, is it's a 5 or more rule. And what that does is it breaks up the doe groups and makes them a lot smaller. And then that way they don't have big congregated doe groups that could take over a whole property. So that's something that I've kind of done. What are your thoughts on shooting does, Nate?
Freezer queens. I definitely think the ratio is off in our area. Buck to doe. At least where I hunt. I mean, if the doe are there and you need the meat, I say, take them. But I guess for what I kind of do, I spread the wealth out a little bit.
Yep.
Because I know the one piece I hunt is insanely overloaded with doe. I mean, you'll just see groups of 12, 15. I mean, they'll just pile out.
Yep.
And, I know for that piece, I would like to take at least 2 doe to 1 buck. You know.
Yep.
And when I always think of my friends and family. I know, if I have a family member who's been hunting or hasn't been able and hasn't had a successful year or hasn't been able to get out, but they always kind of look forward to that deer in their freezer. I'll shoot them a text and say, hey, I got time to get out. Would you like a deer for your freezer or anything like that? If I get a chance, would you take the meat? You pay for the processing,
right?
But you can have the deer, kind of thing. And I've done that for three different family members this year.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they just come take the deer and they just cut it up themselves.
Yep.
But I guess when it comes to the land management part of it, I don't know. I don't really view it a whole lot as that. I guess it depends on where I'm at in the season. I kind of look out for me and my family a little more than what the doe herd population that is. I guess that's a little more of my mindset on it.
Yep.
Yeah. But I do like if I had a little more time in spots that I hunted, kind of like you have. Your family's got a long history of hunting that property.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have been managing it. That's like a dream of mine to be able to do something like that. If I actually had that, I do like your train of thought on that would be to, that number rule. If a herd of 8 come in, there's no harm in taking one of them.
Right.
So I do like that number 5 rule. I think you hit it pretty good there. I know you and your father kind of went through different stages with that. Like you were on a numbers game for a while, and then you tried different things, and you guys seemed to kind of work it out to where this group of 5 seems to be pretty working out pretty good for you guys. So
yeah,
I guess if I was in a similar situation to managing a piece like that, I think I agree with what you're doing. I think I might bump it down to even 4.
Yep.
But yeah, I would agree with you for sure.
Yeah, and I think depending on the piece, and we're not saying go out there and shoot your does. If you're only seeing, like you said, 3 or 4, whatever it might be, does on your property, it's probably not a good idea to go out and shoot 2 or 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Some years it's going to be heavier, some years it's lighter. Some years I fill every one of my doe tags and my sign overs and every additional antlerless tag I get.
Right.
It just happens to be, and you watch it. It doesn't just stay steady. There's going to be some ups and downs and stuff like that with it. But yeah, I think the looking at your piece and being like, well, I'm only seeing, 5, 6 does, whatever. Yeah, you can take 1, maybe 2. But if you're only seeing like 2 or 3 low deer density areas, stuff like that, it's hard to shoot a doe, maybe on a piece of property too. So we're not just saying just shoot them because you got them either. You just gotta kind of look at it a little bit.
And I look more at the animal.
Mm-hmm.
I try, because usually you got when a group of doe come out, or even 3 doe or 3 deer, you look at them and you size them up and you look for the bigger one, the more mature one,
mm-hmm.
or going back to being educated on. It took me a long time to figure out how to like look and judge a mature animal. I did a lot of. I kind of come from just kind of teaching myself and just picking up on things, and some family helped me out. My uncle, who I brought up before, and but that's kind of where I'm at with it. Kind of trying to avoid shooting a younger deer, even when I am out, just trying to get a doe.
Yep.
Trying to judge, their body size, their head size, like I said before, if their legs almost look short to the size of their body, it's probably a big deer.
Right.
Different things like that.
Yeah.
I guess is more of what I pay attention to, I guess.
Right.
Where I'm at.
Right. But yeah, we could beat the doe thing up all day long, but yeah, it just comes down to, like I said, I look at that head. That's kind of my go-to with does, and the mature ones are going to act different than the fawns. They're going to be looking a lot more, maybe not eating as much, that kind of stuff. So, in some of these does in some areas where they're not taking a lot of them, I mean, when we first started really hammering some does, I mean, we were looking at jaws out of some does that were 8, 9, 10 years old probably, or finding them dead because their teeth are all gone and they're starved out, So at the same time, you're not, it's in its pocket. I mean, like we've always said, it depends on the neighborhood and the property too.
What do the neighbors do? If the neighbors are shooting the hell out of them, then
or the habitat's going away, fields or woods being cleared out, stuff like that for housing and all sorts of other stuff. It can be hard to keep a deer population too. So that's why, like we say too, having multiple spots to hunt is also beneficial too, where maybe I don't shoot as many on the farm this year and I can go to a different piece of property that I can hunt to shoot one if I need another deer or something for the freezer. So having multiple spots gives you more opportunities and a better chance to pick and choose a little bit more about an older deer.
Yeah, I mean, the one spot I touched on before is just, it seems like it's overrun by does, and there's always nice bucks on it. The past few years I've been hunting it. Then the other spot, it almost seems like I don't know, maybe it's just the area I hunt on that property.
Yep.
But it seems like I get more bucks on camera than I do does. And then when I'm out hunting, early bow, I might see some does. And then, you get towards gun season, you might see 2, 3 does go cruising through. But I majority see bucks on that property.
Right.
Some decent ones, some good ones, all different age classes on. But I don't know if it's just that area, and I'm just like kind of closer to the buck betting on it. Or what the deal is with that piece, but it definitely seems to hold more bucks than it does actually does.
No, that's a good point. Different pieces are going to hold different, and you'll see that different pieces will hold bucks over does, and some you'll have a real nice balance with, and you're kind of aiming for that balance. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Ryan tuned in. He said, I try to hunt a different piece of public each year and have killed deer almost every year. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, you can get on the topo. Ryan, maybe you can message in and tell us a couple of tactics you do when you look at different public pieces. Do you look on Onyx or Google Earth, and you kind of just look at the terrain and kind of figure out where you think the deer are going to be, and then you kind of figure out an attack on it or anything like that? But I know our buddy Jesse, he always hits up some public land and is pretty successful. Ethan always does good. He's become the public man, I think.
Yeah, multiple states,
multiple state public land,
multiple bucks.
He's always dragging home some
bone,
bone behind him.
Yep, absolutely. But
we got
Fred chimed in again. Says, I'm 62. Opening day was insane. Shots were everywhere. Deer were hanging out and harvested in cornfields and bean fields. Hanging in the harvested corn and bean fields. Yeah, they're going to be looking up for that grain right now. Absolutely, I think. Winter wheat fields, when we don't have that snow cover, they'll be out in them.
Yeah.
Chewing on the green. But don't overlook those, that neighborhood woodlot that might have gotten timbered in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
For that browse value, this time of the year too. Or pines, thermal cover. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things you can key in on and look at this time of the year for, where deer are going to be holed up on properties.
Definitely the late season. I try to key in on food. And, Opie, man, it's been a while. I haven't seen you. I see pictures of your kids all the time on Facebook. You got a beautiful family, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for chiming in.
Yeah.
I know. Wow, a stud was killed on Opie's this year.
Yeah, in that neighborhood.
in that
neighborhood.
In that area, and it was that was one hell of a deer.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so we're just hanging out like we always do. Opie, we're just out here, sipping on some whiskey. The 15-year-old knob is the whiskey of the night. And just talking deer, talking, with everybody in the comments. And then here in a little bit, we'll release the score on the inside kicker 10 that Nate shot this year. We've had some close guesses, still haven't had the guess to hit him on the pin.
Yeah. Opie, throw in a score on this deer.
Yeah.
See if you can.
Yeah. And any other viewers, if you haven't,
viewers haven't thrown a score, and we got 40 guesses, and no one's hit it right on the button.
Yeah, we've had over 40 guesses.
We got 2 guesses that were within an eighth of an inch.
Yep.
But yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully Opie's still chimed in. Hopefully he can throw us a message. We get a couple other comments. I'd like to see someone hit it right on the button.
Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to hit it right on the nose. We had 2, like I said, that were within an eighth of each other. But no, great buck. And like I said, I was talking to Nate. I was like, definitely I don't think the deer would have walked past me. But Derek over on the YouTube. Sorry, Derek, we're not missing you. We're just trying to cycle between everything. Good evening, boys. And Derek drops in 420 and 69.
420. Holy.
Whole bunch of
420 and 69. That sounds like a good Friday night to me.
That's a heck of a score. A score.
Plapp, we do have your score in.
Yep. Scott said 17 and 5/8.
Oh, I think he missed that one.
Yeah, I think he might have too.
Unless he's busting on me.
Tim Davis comments in 140 and an eighth, not on the nose. Andy Hall says, "Do we trust the score?"
Andy, you're my man. You're gonna be my buck scorer. I'm still bringing both of my bucks to you.
Can't have any bias.
Yeah, I don't know about Ben. I think he hits me a little light on most of my deer. I like the way you score them. But yeah, Andy, make sure when me and Ben come down with our bucks this year that you got at least a 6-pack in the fridge for us.
Yeah. Yep. Or maybe we have Andy on and we do it and have Andy on the podcast.
Andy is the man. He is the official scorer.
Yep. He did a really good scoring seminar when I did the FLCC QDMA branch and ran that for the college students. Mm-hmm. He came in and did a scoring seminar for the students and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, he's really good, really well spoken, and is the one that got me into scoring for the Northeast Big Buck Club. So
yeah, I met Andy. What was it, back in 2018? I met Andy through my uncle, the guy who put up with me throughout all my teenage years and everything, and trying to hunt his land and scaring all his deer away until he beat it into my brain how to be successful. Mm-hmm. My Uncle Josh. But yeah. Yeah, Andy's a great guy. Does a good job scoring. Yeah, if anybody is interested in getting their bucks scored for Northeast Big Buck Club, obviously Ben's a official scorer, and Andy, I don't know. It's like a tradition now. If I get a big buck, Andy's got to score it.
Yeah, we usually take our pile down.
It's like my first one to him, and I enjoy going down there and hanging out with him. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Liza says, "I've never heard someone call Scott Opie O'Brien Scott before."
Scott Opie O'Brien. Just my grandma and parents normally. Sorry, Opie.
Yep.
We'll stick with Opie.
Derek says his is a Scott. Derek says he's got a solid score. The 420-69.
Hey, Derek, I think you're the winner. Solid score.
Solid score. So actually, Derek was one of the guys that got one of the first batch run Whitetail Whiskey podcast hoodies, and his should be arriving any day now if he hasn't got it yet.
Well, it's all the way out in Idaho.
Well, it takes a little bit longer to get there.
It's Idaho, right?
It's Idaho. Yep, Idaho.
I always feel like I get
Clark Fork.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. But yeah, I got to get out there, and me and my wife are talking about visiting, and I'm trying to figure out a good time with when he's not spawning too many fish. He spawns millions and millions of fish every year for Fish and Game Department, and talking about getting out there to, visit them, see him and his wife, and see the beautiful scenery, and maybe do a little hunting too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'd really like to do. My wife wants to see the potato museum.
Potato museum. There you go.
But yeah, so Bo says, good point. Just because you have a tag doesn't mean it must be filled.
I agree with that.
Great comment.
I did definitely the past probably 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fill my buck tag unless that deer kind of gets me excited.
What's the Ben Williams saying? Jack me, jack me up.
If he jacks you up, jack him up.
Yep.
I guess that's kind of what I go by. But yeah, Bo, I definitely agree with that. It doesn't mean you have to fill it if you have a tag. It's not like a priority.
Yep.
I know some people like to try and get all their tags filled. They, I guess, rely on that meat.
Yep.
But for the majority of us, I don't necessarily think that's the case. But yeah.
Yep.
Scott, we got your. Let me write you down here.
Yep. 139.58. That's not on the button. I don't know. Nate tells me I need to do my math again. I probably should check it. To be fair, I'll add it up one more time to double check it. I did go to Clyde, guys. So.
Yeah. Wasn't Mid-Lake.
It wasn't Mid-Lakes, I guess.
But yeah. I mean, is anybody out there with the bow? That's something I am curious. Something I kind of want to do. I want to harvest the deer.
Late season,
doe, the bow. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, because
I've never done that before. I've harvested with a muzzle loader, or taken them with a muzzle loader. I've never gotten with a bow in late season. I think that would be interesting.
So
that would be fun.
I've shot a doe with the crossbow in the late season. Never with my vertical bow, and I've shot a couple with the muzzle loader. Shot my first deer with the muzzle loader actually last year. That double doe I got.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so Nate's making sure that my math is honest. So he's double me double check.
I think
you gotta trust the score.
I don't know if I can trust this score, Andy.
Well, make a complaint to the board.
I think Andy is the board over there.
I know he is the board over there.
But what else is going on?
Yeah, what else is going on with everybody?
Christmas
coming up.
Oh man, I don't know if Billy Harvey's listening, but he better have sent my T-shirt out today.
Yeah,
he says I'm a little pushy, but I'm trying to get them last minute Christmas gifts in.
Yeah, you're trying to get all that Christmas stuff in. We do have Whitetails and Whiskey hoodies in stock. A few larges hanging around.
Yeah, if anybody wants anybody's Christmas.
Yep, I got just larges. My mediums are gone. XLs are gone. I think XL is what we're going to be heavy on the next order, and we are trying to figure out a forest green for a green label for the second batch, keeping it with that whiskey theme. So you got the OG black, and then we'll have green labels and
green
different
label.
Yeah. Going forward with the different whiskeys and stuff like that. But
David, how's it going with the late season with your bow? You having any success? You seeing stuff? You got some good ones on camera you're after, or is this something you've always done? Hunted late season with your bow? I love shooting deer with my muzzleloader.
Oh, dude, I love it too.
I think I would. It's actually crossed my mind to switch even during regular season to just go out with my muzzleloader instead.
Yep.
I just love shooting that gun.
Yep. No, I definitely do. No, it still adds up to the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Opie.
So, math was good.
Opie's a farmer. He says he took his bow course, so he's going to get out. Hell yeah,
There
man.
you go.
I know you got a couple guys that hunt your property that are pretty smart guys. You're definitely set up on a pretty good piece there. And I wish you the best of luck, man. Bow hunting's a whole different game. I know when I first started, I was just during gun season when I was 16 years old.
Yep.
And my uncle took me out, and then my grandpa took me out, and then I always felt like as the gun season went on, you never really saw a whole lot.
Yep.
And And then I switched over to the bow, and it's a whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
The deer act completely different. There's more deer around. They're calmer. I feel like they're less pressured. You actually see deer kind of roughly throughout the day, not necessarily at the wee hours of the morning and wee hours of the evening after they've been shot at and all that. Scott, I think Opie O'Brien. I really think you'll enjoy it, man.
Yep. No, definitely. Bow is definitely my favorite time to hunt. But I think that late season, I mean, and we both, whatever you want to call it, that late gun season, I still think is that transition into that late season that we were able to capitalize on our bucks with, because they were both on food. Yeah. So they're putting that feedback on. They're getting over that rut, especially with the bucks and the does. They're putting them fat reserves on for those fawns they're growing. And I think food right now is king, and then thermal cover is, a strong second. And it's going to be a shift from where you were seeing them in the fall. You're definitely going to start seeing a shift of where they're going to, go to.
And the movement, and I think we touched on it in the last episode of people who, and I'm guilty of it because I haven't moved my cameras off of the scrapes. I almost think it would be more productive to put them on the food edges. I mean, if your scrape is right there on an active food source right now that the deer are hitting, I think you're going to get some solid pictures.
Yep.
But, those scrapes, you might have some cameras on that are maybe in the timber or on a logging trail or, we'll say on a cut bean field that, might not be so hot right now.
Right.
You're probably not going to get a whole lot. You might be better off actually taking that camera and moving it over on an edge that deer frequent, or closer to a thicker area, maybe like a bedding area, that you can set that camera up near, and you'll probably get a little better inventory of what's still around. Because I think the deer are definitely frequenting that food a little more than worried about hitting the scrapes at this point.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I mean, they're going to freshen them and hit them. I mean, that night I killed St. Patrick, I watched him work a couple scrapes. But the does in the field, he picked his head up and looked at him and stuff, but he didn't go over to him because they weren't right.
Same with mine. He came out of the field, hit the scrape in the corner, just kind of sniffed it. It's not the scrape in that field that I had my camera on.
Yep.
But, he was just following the does. He wasn't nudging them, pushing them.
Yeah, just out there feeding and checking and
moseying around. He was just hanging out with them.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much the same. Again, back to the food. Again, if there's going to be a hot doe, food's going to be second thought again.
Yep.
If they're going to get a chance to get lucky, that's what they're going to do. Derek asked if we've been out on the hard water yet. We're making ice right now. I mean, if you guys can't see,
I'm sure up north they got it.
Yeah, up St. Lawrence County that way and stuff, and the Adirondacks. I'm sure they probably do, but I mean, we're probably in the teens tonight. I think we're out in the shed. Nate's gracious enough to spend some of his $1 million propane on heating the shed up a little bit for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe this is the last one in the shed until winter's over.
Yeah.
It's a little chilly out here.
It's a little chilly and propane's expensive.
Yeah,
but no, haven't been on the hard water yet. Haven't been fishing in quite a bit. Actually, been since the summer.
It's been hard water, but a couple friends of ours been out. They caught some walleyes and stuff.
Yep.
I think they've been out with the boat, though.
Yep. Mark Rasmussen comments in 132.28, solid score. Not on the button, but solid score. Solid score. Derek says he's trying to figure out how to kill a buck in the next 2 weeks with his bow. We have a short archery season only that finished off the year. So they got kind of a late season bow season out there in Idaho too. So
is it late bow muzzleloader or is it just late bow in Idaho?
Short archery only. So probably archery.
Just bow.
Yeah, and I don't know if
Does that include crossbow?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Slam, the burbot, and pike.
So far.
I love catching the pike.
Yeah.
I like going out in the spring when they're spawning. You get that May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
You start running some spinners over some weed beds.
Yep.
That's a lot of fun.
And Derek comments in 138.38. Another solid guess, but not on the button.
130. 2. No. Oh, yeah,
Theirs.
138 3/8.
Yep.
Right.
But no crossbow in Idaho unless you're handicapped.
All right.
Gotcha.
Well, that's kind of how it was here for a little while.
Yeah, and I know some of those states you can't even run a light for your pins. I don't know if Idaho is one of those states, but a lot of those west states you can't even run a light for your pins to light them up. And then I think some of them you can't use glass, like an optic on your muzzle loader. You have to use iron sight muzzle loaders. There's a whole bunch of different regs. So if you are hunting out of state, make sure you check your regulations and check your regulations in any state you hunt.
Yeah, for sure.
There's your public announcement. So I had some comments rolling. Got to scroll back on the Facebook side. Busy chat line tonight. Bo says, "Is it getting easier? Is it getting easier to kill deer? Whether it be technology we use as hunters, baiting with corn piles, or evolution of weapons, the list goes on and on." I think it's an interesting thought. Was it getting easier to kill a deer? A deer, I would say yes, because we have a fairly abundant population compared to when we were restocking in the 1900s. I mean, obviously, it's more deer now. There's more opportunity. You know.
Yeah, I definitely think there's more opportunity. I definitely think the advancement in technology. I definitely think there's more information for people that are interested in, trying to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess when it's just talking about killing deer overall, I think all of that definitely comes into a play. Something that just kind of was like a light bulb that went off in my head this past week. People were talking about how New York has, people are seeing bigger bucks killed, and there were, there's people that want to see it better. They want to see more Boone and Crockett quality bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. I think hunters as a whole, with passing the smaller deer, not using their buck tag on that little 6-point or basket rack 8 or 4-point, which is fine if everybody has, but I think as a whole people are doing that. But I think one of the biggest contributors to that is big bucks being harvested in New York is that half-hour time change that you can actually pull the trigger.
I think that's a huge part of it too. I would agree with that.
I think though that because you're actually out there in gun season till that last 10 to 15 minutes of being able to see,
mm-hmm.
and that's when them guys like to come out. And by that rule change alone, I think is a big reason why a lot of the mature bucks in New York are hitting the ground.
Yep. And I'm all for opportunity, with the, Bo says, how are you going to let technology advancement and liberalization of weapon of choice, but not have changes in bag limits or season dates? At some point with this technology advance or whatever you want to call it, there's going to be a point where the data is going to reflect what's happening. I mean, if we're seeing an over-harvested deer, the data is going to eventually show that. But until you have good data to support a change of a season date or a bag limit or something like that, you can't make a change just because you think it's happening. We're looking, doesn't matter if it's me, Nate, somebody commenting in, anything like that. We're looking in such a small window of the state or an area that it's tough to judge it. You can't judge it on that alone, So I think the comment of changing that stuff, I mean, it'll happen when the data supports it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would agree on that, and the data's not 100%.
No.
I mean, it's the DEC doing the best they can with what they got to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I think are they fairly close, probably, but the data is definitely not 100%.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, and we talked about James comments him, says you could look at other states for comparison. We did talk about that with that whole proposed change to New York deer season podcast we did a couple ago.
Yeah, with the change of the $1 rule or
antler restrictions, less doe tags. There was, we had 20 something different comments of a proposed change, for deer season.
Well, I think on our live feed we had over like close to 60 to 80 comments, but I know on the post that we put up about the topic and everybody giving their opinions, we had over 130.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Tons of comments, tons of feedback.
And when we got on and we started talking about it live, me and Ben both did some research, and I guess the best thing that we could come up with to try and give you guys, I guess, our opinion and what the best, I guess, results were of it was to go and look at those numbers that the DEC provides off of their website. The hunter population versus the deer harvested population.
Yep.
Compared to the total deer population in New York.
Yep.
And we came to the conclusion that the average hunter, so only 47% of deer hunters in New York State actually harvest a single deer.
Yep. I believe that. It was approximately 47-ish%.
There was like 500 and something thousand registered hunters.
Yep.
And then there was only 240 something thousand total deer taken.
Yep.
And then on average, even if you average out the guys that harvest $2 compared to the guys that harvest $1 across the board to the guys that get no bucks.
Yep.
To the guys that don't even harvest a deer. It all kind of averages out to everybody just killing a buck. And I think a lot of people want New York to be in Idaho. They want New York to be in Indiana. They want New York to be a Midwest,
Kansas, whatever.
State.
Yeah.
And I think the honest truth is, can you kill a Boone and Crockett in New York? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Are the majority of the deer bucks in New York going to grow to be a Boone and Crockett? I don't feel like our I don't know if it's our area or the genetics or if it's
age.
The food available, the age. I don't really know what it is, but I've seen 5-year-old deer that are only 110 inches.
St. Patrick's a good example.
St. Patrick is, if he had all of his tines, he probably would have went high
maybe 30s,
maybe hit with a 140 mark.
Maybe.
But he's a 6.5-year-old deer, and he's still topping out right there at the high 130s.
Yep. And again, that's going to be individuals across the board. And the number I'll point out is the one that I crunched all the numbers and data with. There's only 1,734, if my memory serves me correctly, 1,734 hunters in New York that kill $2 a year, which is a very, very low percentage of the population of hunters as a whole. Mm-hmm. So that is a very, very small. You're going to save 1,700 more deer. Somebody would say, "Wow, that's 1,700 more deer." But are you really going to save it though? You know what I mean? It's such a small fraction of the population that's being harvested. Going to like a $1, I don't think it's going to change that much. This year, I took both of my bucks on the same parcel. You took both of yours on different parcels, different towns. So if you're hunting multiple areas, especially, I see nothing wrong with it if at all possible. I think the biggest thing we lack in New York is age, and I don't think a $1 year is going to change the age class. It's not like 10,000 hunters are killing $2. If that was the number, I'd say, okay, we could push 5,000 more, 6,000 more, whatever the number would be on that split into an older age class, maybe. you're talking pennies on the dollar, with a $1 change. We just have such a high hunter number in New York relative to our size and our deer population that it's not going to change that much. It's not going to move the needle very far. I think with the increased education and more guys letting deer get to older age classes by choice, I think is, making what we see now is better deer being harvested in the last 10 years. I mean, 10 years ago, and this is just kind of an observation, 10 years ago, you shot 100 to 120 inch deer 10, 20 years ago. You were doing something.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about on the right property situations, we might be passing those deer. Just
in hopes that they get bigger.
And sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they're the same size and put on a little mass.
Yep.
Andy, I'm saying, he goes, mass measurements in New York are as good as anywhere.
Yeah, if you get the age under them.
Yeah, I mean, my 6 point's a good example.
Yep. Old Rocky.
My bullbuck. I mean, he's got, 4 3/4 inch bases? Is that what we said?
Yep. Actually, the bases on him, he had a 5-inch base measurement on the one side there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had some other.
So we definitely.
I mean, I think Rocky might be. I think that 6 point shot with the ball.
He was 4s.
Yeah, but he's still. Yeah, but I mean, if you're looking for that Boone and Crockett, I think that's what everyone wants. They want that $1 rule because they think more deer are going to survive and more deer are going to grow bigger. Well, I think that deer is probably 5 years old. I think he's right in the 4 to 5 years old mark.
Body was there.
Still a 6 point.
Yep.
He's got 4.5 to 4 3/4 inch bases, and he's still only 110, 115 inches.
And again, we'll just play devil's advocate here because that's what we're doing. That's all we're doing, giving opinions. If you were to go as extreme as 4 on a side, that deer is going to be passing on his genes to every doe in the neighborhood. Because every other 8 and 7 and 10 and 12 point is going to be eligible to be shot, and you couldn't shoot him. Where's the give and take?
I mean, if you want to talk about the antler scripture thing. Andy's throwing some comments out here.
But crops grow B and C deer. We don't have crops everywhere. That's a good point. I agree with that.
Majority of New York is the Adirondacks.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lack of big deer in New York. I mean, the Boone and Crockett deer are probably going to be in the Finger Lakes. Maybe the southern tier.
It's going to be central, western New York, southern tier. You're going to get a few outliers.
Where the majority of them are going to be.
You're going to get a few.
That's a very small portion of New York.
Yep. As a whole. So, I mean, is it possible? Possibly. But at the same time, I mean, we've owned and managed our property. We'll just use mine as an example. It's in Wayne County. And, the biggest deer we've ever had on the property that we know of in the 15 years plus that we've owned it was a 174, the 13. That's it. It's not like there's Boone and Crockett deer, and we're letting them get to 4 or 5. Yeah.
And you found it.
Yep.
That
you got car hit. Car hit.
That was not a kill. Well, It was a kill by car.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, can we grow Boone and Crockett's? Yeah. Absolutely. But, I don't think they're hiding around every tree. There's some in every county. I would say that. There's deer that are gross Boone and Crockett scoring.
Yeah, I mean, I got one on my wall. Andy scored it for me.
As a gross, yeah.
As a gross, it went 156 and 4/8.
Yeah, he's knocking on that whatever.
And he dried out at 154 and a few eights.
Mm-hmm.
He's knocking on the door of that Boone and Crockett.
Yeah,
we looked around. Yeah.
So.
How many of them are you going to have around by just switching to a $1 rule? I don't think it's going to change. I think it all depends on the genetics of the deer, the food available to the deer,
habitat.
Habitat. I think there's a lot that goes into play that I think the Midwest offers. And then you want to talk about. I know our winters haven't been as harsh, but the stress that deer has to go through to survive throughout the cold temperatures where we are. I mean, it's not Illinois.
Yep.
Where it's, it might get 50 degrees on a cold day
Yep.
in the evening.
It can.
I mean, there's a lot less stress on
Yep.
those deer out there.
Yeah. So let me scroll back up. We're
No, we got tons of people.
We're having tons of people commenting, which is great. We love to see it.
Right, we left off with Andy.
Andy's.
We're on Bo here.
Well, so we had Bo. Bo, one of your comments disappeared. Something about Ohio's archery season disappeared off the comment line. I don't know where it went. Bo said it might be out like that in the western part, but not the eastern part. As I would agree with that.
You get
the bigger
the Catskills, it gets a little more
Adirondacks.
Adirondack-y like.
Yep. I mean, and that's all regional. The best of the best.
Unless you go super east and you start hunting that Long Island, there's some
southeast.
You want to kill some booners, go to Long Island.
Yeah, get the age.
Go hunt them suburbs in Long Island. You want to see some big deer.
Bo says most people don't follow the rule of no shots after sundown. I guess that could be relative to an area. I mean, you're always going to hear shots later.
I still hear shots later, and we're a half hour past.
Yeah, we're at last light rather than sundown.
I'll be walking out about to hop in my truck and close the door, and I'm 15 minutes past the legal shooting, getting to my truck, and I still hear a shot going off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So you're always going to have that.
I would agree with that, though. I definitely think people were hunting because they could see, and I think that was part of the reason why they changed the rule.
And most states have that. Most states, it's last light and first light.
Which I think it's a better rule.
Yep, I agree. It gives you more opportunity, and I talked about that when I took our buddy Jake out for a doe hunt the other day at the farm. That we were sitting at a spot, and when it got to be sunset, not end of legal shooting, but sunset, I was like, yeah. I said 2-3 years ago, I said we'd been done right now. We would have had to pack up and been headed out of the woods. And we were able to sit another half hour, and we actually decided with 10 minutes left of legal light that we didn't have enough light left to shoot because it was overcast that night. So,
yeah, it definitely depends on the weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I like James' comment here. See, this is something that I'm interested in actually seeing in New York, is shortening the gun season.
Yep. I can see that.
I would actually like that. I'm not really sure where I would like to see the gun season. I guess I kind of like that whole, we'll say, the Saturday before Thanksgiving to the Sunday following Thanksgiving, and that's our gun season. And then you just roll right into either muzzleloader and bow or just a bow season again.
Right.
I definitely agree with you. I think a shorter gun season would definitely benefit us.
Some of the biggest
buck I'm a big bow hunter, though.
So I mean,
I guess I'm a little biased there.
Yeah. So, with the biggest buck states seem to have a shorter gun season. So what happens if, and this is just again me being devil's advocate, what happens to maybe a local deer processor? Is if you have only 2 weekends, let's just say, of gun season, you're still going to basically take in the same amount of deer. Same amount of deer are going to get shot. Most of them get taken in that first couple weeks. So what happens if they say, well, we don't have enough trickle in to stay open? Again, more people learn how to cut their own. Sometimes weather doesn't permit it. Weather and work just don't permit it. So there's always two sides of the scale, and we're trying to balance it for everybody's kind of take on it. But I think that a shorter gun season could benefit the age structure. Case in point, had we had a shorter gun season, like Nate said, we would have had to take in our bucks with archery equipment or maybe a muzzle loader or something like that.
I would like the opportunity to be able to fill both my buck tags with my bow. I guess I do have the opportunity, but I got to wait till after gun season.
Yep.
I kind of like the idea of me being able to fill both my buck tags.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Before gun season.
Absolutely. And I'll always support the 2 buck because I don't see enough of a difference in the change of numbers with $2 take versus $1 take for our state. I don't think it moves the needle that much because I think a lot of people are still in that mindset of, having to kill that buck. Like Bo said earlier, just because you have a tag doesn't mean you have to fill it.
Yeah,
But again,
which is a good point.
I will also say that it is your tag, it is your choice. We're never going to tell you what you should or shouldn't shoot.
Yeah.
It's not my place to do it.
I mean, some guys only get out twice a year, and if
that's the only deer.
Horn's the only deer they see, then it's tough to tell somebody that they're not allowed to harvest that.
Yep.
Bo
comments in age. So, that's the thing, that the age is everything. You're not going to have a Boone and Crockett 2-year-old very, very often. Doesn't matter what habitat he's in. Age is going to be the number one thing for score.
Right.
Absolutely. Score and body size, you got to have age. 100%.
And Bo says, come on, how accurate are the numbers of the DEC? I guess to that point there, I guess if you don't believe the numbers now, are you going to believe the numbers when they do change something and you get the same results, or maybe you start seeing different results?
Yeah.
I mean, are you still going to believe the numbers?
If it's the consistent formula and estimate to get to those numbers, and that's the standard estimate for their numbers, that's the numbers you got to go by. And that's why I tell everybody, report your tag. Doesn't matter if it's a buck, doesn't matter if it's a doe. You got to report your tag. And I've always said that the more reporting they do, the better data they have, the better numbers that they can come up with to make these management decisions.
And I think the DEC estimated that roughly 50, I think they said 47%. We'll just
43 or whatever it was.
50%. They estimate that 50% of hunters actually report their deer tags,
and that's based on processor numbers in relation to.
So whatever numbers they get, they double.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah. So, and again, if that's the standard formula that they're using consistently, that's going to be the best data you have rather than no data. Would you rather have somebody using part of the information to interpret a problem, or just having no information and saying, okay, this is the problem? You know what I mean? It's the best that they can do with what they can do.
Right.
So Andy says you can hunt with a bow any season. Yep. In New York, we're allowed that luxury. In some states, you can't. If it's gun season, you can't hunt with a bow in some states.
Yeah.
So good point.
That's a good point, Andy. I know my Uncle Josh is he's out there. I think he's been hunting the whole regular season with his bow. I called him nuts because he
cost him a couple good bucks.
Yeah, he sent me pictures of these deer that he missed, and that's the problem with me is I'll take if it's legal and I can hunt with my rifle, I'm gonna take the rifle just because it's gonna optimize my chances that much. But it's just the time of the year with the way the bow season lands, I guess, would be a little more if you were kind of digging at me, Andy, about talking about I would like to take 2 bucks with my bow. Yeah, you're right. I could hunt with my bow all year. But it's just the time of the year. I mean, if I shoot a buck, like I did this year, I shot my bow buck. Was it October 27th?
Yeah, it was the 28th or 27th. Yep.
And legally, I still have a buck tag in my pocket, but I can't use it for another 3 weeks.
Yep.
That sucked.
Yep. Absolutely.
I want to be back out there with my bow.
Yeah, we unfortunately missed the rut this year.
Yeah.
On the good side of stuff because we both tagged, but.
And then could I have passed the deer that I shot, and in hopes that something better would walk by? There's always that.
But how often?
It's always a gamble.
Yeah.
But
again,
he was one of the
dominant bucks over
there. He was on the
4-year-old, maybe 5-year-old.
He was definitely the top 3 of my choices, and he was the first one to give me the opportunity.
Yeah. So I think we're trying to get caught up on our comments.
All right, there's Andy's bow.
Yep.
So we gotta go up one. Okay.
We got one more. Marty comments in. Marty's a client of mine. Trying to get more age on the deer in my area. Most neighbors are on board. What conversations do you have with guests on your own property to get the point across to them? Do you allow them to shoot a doe or a mature buck?
This is a good one for you, Ben, because you and your dad have come up with some pretty good ideas. I feel like on your property to fix that.
Yeah, so we've always kind of gone by that, 5 does or more. We talked about that earlier. Also, if we have a guest, family member, friend, whatever, come out to put a deer in the freezer, does are just about fair game all the time on ours because we can put them in a spot in a situation to give them opportunities at, antlerless deer, does specifically. When it comes to bucks, um, me and my dad do different opinion on this a little bit, but kind of what our rule that we've come up with when we have the adequate, I guess, number of bucks or whatever on a property that we still have some targets on is our kind of rule of thumb is if you're going to shoot them, you got to shoulder mount them. And I think that's and I got that idea from a buddy of mine.
And if you shoot them and you don't shoulder mount them, you're not allowed back.
Yeah. So that's kind of the take on it with that. I'm all for having friends out, family. I love having more people in camp or at the farm, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of them most of the time aren't out there doing food plots with me. Some are, some aren't. Or they're not hanging stands, trimming stands. Some of that stuff they don't do a lot of that work. So again, those are fair game just about for us because we can put them on a spot if they want to punch a doe tag. And bucks, it's pretty much if they want to shoot one, we've kind of come to that rule or agreement that it's got to be shoulder mounted. And if our numbers, like this year, we've taken a ton of bucks, anybody that comes out now it is a doe only hunt. Unless the deer's severely limping, and I know you joke about this all the time that he was limping, Ben. I swear he was limping.
Ben, he was limping. I know he was.
So obviously that goes without saying that if a deer's injured very badly, harvest the deer. For sure. There's the morals in that part of it. But I think that's a really good question, Marty. And it all depends on the property and the people hunting it too. So, but that's just what we've kind of done or adopted on our piece of property with shooting of bucks and does.
Yeah, I think you definitely gotta set some ground rules. You got to be up front with people if you're trying to increase the age on your property and trying to better it. And those are just some tips that Ben and his dad came up with. I thought were pretty solid. I mean, if you're gonna shoot a buck on their property, they expect you to shoulder mount it because it is a bill. It's a $600 to $1,000 bill, depending on where you take it. And
yep.
That when you squeeze that trigger on a trophy buck, I mean that's got to be somewhat running through your mind.
Yep. So I guess before we dive into these comments, we had a couple people comment in says us old farts are getting ready to go to bed. What's the score? LOL. So I guess
we're not. Yeah, give them the score.
Yeah, we're.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, we're about what are we at? A little over an hour into the podcast right now. So, inside kicker buck. A couple of highlights on the score sheet. We gave you the spread 16 6/8. And we had 2 guesses within an eighth, but the general consensus was closest to without going over.
Yep.
So with the comments and everything that came in, we're going to give it to the closest score without going over, which we had 2 guys within an eighth. But the winner was Mr. Logan Norcott, if you're tuning in. I don't know if Logan is. He hasn't been on the comment line or not. But Logan came in at 128 6/8. He ended up scoring out at 128 7/8. Couple things that hurt him is his beams. He didn't have a beam over 19 4/8 was his longest beam. The other came in at only 18. So he gets a little hurt on his beams. That would have put him into that 30 mark all day if he had 21, 22 inch beams.
Being under 18.
Yeah, spread being under 18 is going to hurt him. And again, we're not all about score. It's just the number everybody
Me,
puts
if
on.
I was to guess, just by looking at the deer, I would have guessed around the 132 range.
Yeah, we figured that 130 to 135, and that's where most of our guesses came in at. I mean, we had
at 130 to 135 range. That's kind of where I was.
Yeah, so we had a ton of guesses. I mean, we had over probably 50 guesses at this point come in.
Yeah.
We were at 40 till we stopped taking them because we'd already scored them, so we stopped writing them down.
We'll see what Andy says.
But yeah, we'll see what Andy says, and see how close I am to being fired as a volunteer scorer for Northeast Big Buck. So
Andy, he scored that thing pretty quick.
That's because I'm getting good at it.
He's making me nervous on things.
No, but so 128 7/8. So the winner's Logan Norcott.
Congratulations, Logan.
Yep.
Wow.
We'll get you over your hoodie, your first batch.
You know Logan?
I know Logan. He went to Clyde. I know Logan. Known Logan for a while now. He did some tree work for a client of ours that we work for.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. So
I think I met Logan then.
Yep.
Very cool.
So Logan Norcott over there.
He was dropping that dead ash tree in the front yard.
Yep, those 2 big ash trees for that client.
Yep.
So
cool.
So thank you everybody that guessed a score, and now that you didn't win a hoodie, now you can buy one or place your order for one to help us keep supporting, the channel and everything we do. Keep doing all this stuff, bringing new whiskeys every week. We still got a few more new ones and stuff to go through, so we're not going to run out anytime soon. But, it helps support, the whiskey and the gas and the baby.
And the
support
baby.
the new baby.
Yeah, Owen needs new shoes.
Owen needs new shoes, guys.
Hoodies.
Buy some hoodies.
No, it's all fun.
Yep. No, we like doing it. We like having this network and communication with everybody.
And I can't believe we got
like 50 guesses.
Yeah, we had to have been close to 50 guesses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were right there, right around 50 guesses on the score, and only one duplicate.
Yeah, 1 or 2 duplicates.
Which is crazy. I mean, people are really coming in with the 8s measurements.
Yep, and everybody must have been listening to the last podcast because we said he was going to go probably between 130 and 135, and that's where like every single guest came in at for the most part.
Maybe they were listening, maybe they weren't.
Yep.
I don't know.
So that's the score of Inside Kicker 10. We'll get the official score from Andy after the drying period, but that's my green gross, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it with the green gross score on him. So, all right, back to the stack. Nothing on YouTube line. Back to the Facebook side of stuff. Come on, look at all the implementations the DC has allowed within the last 20 years. October 1 opener for bow season, youth season during archery. Opening day of gun season moved to Saturday, allowing rifles into the southern zone. Crossbows allowed during archery season. Holiday hunt added. The list goes on and on. Yes, the DEC has given more opportunities, but they've done nothing to improve the deer herd in New York State. So my question to that comment, and this is, again, me being devil's advocate on it, is in the last 20 years, has the deer herd improved in New York? What I mean by that is everybody saying that the deer are less healthy now than they were 20 years ago because of these changes? I think we have more deer and older deer now than we did 20 years ago. And that's, I mean, you and me, what we've been saying, 15 years we've been hunting now, 14, 15, whatever it is between the two of us. So we've on the edge of that 20-year change that Bo's talking about. I think we have much better deer age class-wise of bucks and more deer in general, even with all of these changes that are so bad. Yeah. So I don't see the argument.
But I mean,
and that's our perspective in this area. I will say that as the disclaimer.
I mean, we could sit here and talk about how to improve, the quality of our hunting and the quality of our deer and the population of our deer and how to manage that all we want. But I mean, if you actually read, was that Bo that came in with that comment we were just talking about?
Yeah, Bo's comment.
He's talking about New York allowing all these things to happen, those early seasons, those later seasons. And we live in New York. New York is based on New York City and is run by New York City and insurance companies. Is honestly my bottom line opinion on it. It's fun to talk about. I know some people get pretty riled up about this topic, but the bottom line is is New York City. I don't think really cares about the deer population. New York isn't really prioritizing, our sport in any way like other states do. So, if anything, with insurance companies, I mean, what's the biggest cost to an insurance company every year? Probably deer accidents in New York. So, if anything, I honestly could see New York, making more seasons or extending seasons or giving out more tags. Unfortunately, New York does not, I believe, does not invest a whole lot of, exhaust a whole lot of effort into making, our sport better or a better quality or anything like that. That's kind of my, I guess, sad truth about it.
Yeah. And I guess I'll say my take on it is they're managing the resource for the resource, not necessarily for what we deem as the value of the resource. So what people might see as a lack of quality of antlers or population, we're losing habitat at an alarming rate. So at some point you need to look at the balance with those things and find the balance with it. So like I said, it's all tough. It's you give in one hand, you take from the other to try to balance it out. So losing habitat, losing hunter numbers, less deer are taken. So what's New York have to do to have the deer numbers fit the habitat on the landscape level, not on our individual neighborhood level, but landscape level? They have to increase opportunity to take more deer because of that, because of deer human interactions through car accidents, through property damage, whatever. They have to drop those numbers to bring it in balance with the human balance, because our population is exploding at an alarming rate. So therefore, there's more human interaction, there's more negative interaction because there's more interaction. So this is what New York has to do, is give more opportunities to balance that. Unfortunately, that's the sad truth of it. So again, to manage that number, you have to sacrifice the quote quality of antlers. But again, like we always say, it's your tag, your choice, but you don't have to fill it.
The best thing I think New York can do, and it's what I think New York hunters have been doing, is just passing on the younger bucks.
Increased education on the benefits of it, and
increased education on aging deer on the hoof. Increased education on habitat improvement. Increased education on all that.
And again, we're not going to just snap our fingers, make one change, and overnight it's going to change the deer herd.
I mean, I think we've New York has made strides in the past 10 years. Do I personally think New York will eventually be a Boone and Crockett state
contender for top 5? No,
I don't think it'll ever be there.
Our hunter numbers are too big
due to multiple different things. The biggest thing, I think, would just be in New York City.
Yeah, our total population of the state.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I think that's it. And unfortunately, I think that sucks. But I think that's really what the truth of it is. So I think is us and the us hardcore hunters, and you guys staying up till 9:30 with us every Wednesday night, talking about this. I think it's a very small percentage of the population. It's I think we just kind of got to do it ourselves. We got to take that initiative ourselves and just keep kind of doing what we're doing.
Right. No, that's all good points. So we have a ton of comments to catch up on, actually. They've been just flooding in. I'm sure we're stirring some feathers and ruffling some feathers as we go here.
This topic always gets
people fired up with it. Tyler says, who cares how long the seasons are? Hunt using what you want in the right season. I'd rather gun over bow for Tyler. It's personal preference. You don't hear gun hunters complaining about bow seasons being too long. That's a fair comment, fair point. I mean, like I said, we're all open to different points, topics, comments, everything with that. Longer seasons are going to kill more deer. It's just a matter of numbers. So, and yeah, I guess that's the answer to it. It doesn't matter what it is. The longer season is going to kill more deer. Aaron says, seen a buck on camera this week, dropped his antlers. What do you think of that? I think he's stressed. I think he's injured. I think something like that's going on for him to drop this early. I mean, we're mid December. I've seen him drop this early for sure, but I'd say there's probably something going on with that buck as why he's dropped his antlers this early.
I would agree.
So, kind of buzzing through a couple. Tom comments in, talking with neighbors are tough when they just travel to hunt and all you see is a truck on the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, I've had guys leave a note under my windshield wiper.
Yep.
To give him a ring and just to kind of see what was up. I guess some people might see it as nosy. I guess it's all on how you approach that person if they do give you a call.
Yep.
Some guys might just crinkle it up and toss it out, but I mean there's multiple ways that you can at least put forth some effort to try and contact them guys.
Right.
Contact with them.
Yeah, so sometimes it is tough with neighbors, and sometimes we have neighbors that aren't some of the best relations at first, but we've built relationships, or we haven't built relationships, but we give everybody a fair shake the best we can, and how they treat us is how we treat them with, unfortunately, a lot of it, and that's just kind of the way it is. Do unto others as you want done to yourself, and we give you the benefit of the doubt to start. And some people just lose that respect and that trust right off the bat, unfortunately. So, anyway. So, Tom also says, shoulder mount rule is a tough one if someone doesn't prefer shoulder mounts. I prefer Euros no matter the size of the rack. That's personal preference, but when you're talking about a piece of property that, you're maybe spending $5,000-$6,000 in taxes alone, let alone mortgage payments. If
you're the landowner is,
and
then how much money are they? I mean, if you're hunting someone else's property, you got to play by their rules.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what. I guess it's up to them. If you say, yeah, well, what if I Euro it? I guess that's up to the landowner if he will agree to that or not.
But that's a conversation you have up front.
Yeah, that's just kind of being communicative.
Yep, and that's again personal preference. Nothing against that. I know a lot of guys that prefer Euros or skull plates or whatever to shoulders, but
our buddy Jesse's a good example.
He loves his Euros.
Yeah,
Dahmer's taxidermy.
Yeah, he's got
DOMMERS.
Close to a 140 on his wall. Euroed.
Yep.
Did it himself.
Which is fine. Absolutely. That's a good point, Tom. But that's our rule.
Yeah.
That we've been
going
going
the
with.
Land,
it's your call.
It's your call, I guess.
And as a guest, you got to respect the landowner.
And if you don't respect the landowner, well, chances are you probably won't be able to hunt.
Well, landowner or like maybe with you, land manager, like you said, taking some people out that might not have had the opportunity to fill a tag. It's like, hey, it's got to be a good buck or it's got to be a doe for you to fill your tag with it here. Yeah. Whatever your conversation, again, having those conversations, ahead of time is the biggest piece to it.
Yeah, don't set yourself up for disappointment. If you're the one taking someone out or you're going to hunt someone else's piece, it's a good idea to just ask the question. What's all right out here and what's not. I need to know because I don't want to cause any waves.
Yep, absolutely. Marty says great ideas. Thanks. Absolutely, Marty. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Andy says, I was trying to throw everyone off. Actually was looking at the other buck. What other buck? He's just messing around. Whiskey wise, have you checked out Breckenridge Bourbon? No, but if you want to, I don't know if I've seen Breckenridge at any of our local liquors right around here.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, whiskey wise, checked out Breckenridge.
Is that a local thing, Tom, where you're at, or is that a?
Yeah, so I'm gonna write that down, Breckenridge, because we're always looking for. I know Nate's not really the whiskey guy; he's more of his rum.
I'm a rum and coke guy.
But
My rum and cokes.
But I will always be open to trying and listening to bourbon and whiskey suggestions, especially bourbons. That's just my kind of flavor. I'm not big on the Irish whiskeys or the scotches, and stuff like that, but I do like my bourbons. So, Breckenridge, I definitely have to check those out. So, thank you, Tom, for that suggestion on the Whitetails and whiskey, the whiskey side of the podcast. There is more time to hunt.
Tom commented on another comment.
Yeah, so
go down to Brandon.
Yeah. I don't think we have more deer. I do think we are seeing better age class of bucks only because guys are making that decision on their own.
I would agree with you, Brandon.
I think it's pocketed. You know, no matter what, there's some areas where I'm seeing more deer than I used to. There's some areas where I'm maybe seeing not as many deer as I used to.
Yeah.
You know, but to get better quality, you don't want as much quantity either with that, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You only have so many mouths to feed on the landscape that you can afford to feed.
And if you want to hold that quality on your piece,
you can't have an exuberant quantity of it.
30 does and $1 out there.
Yep. So James commented, in New York could rival Midwest states in big bucks with a little help from the DC. Look how good it is without help just by hunters passing small bucks. So, and this is something that a lot of people might not know. So probably, I can't even tell you when, it was probably 2015 or 16. I was invited to a biologist sit down with QDMA and all that stuff with New York. And we proposed this, let them go to grow things. So a lot of that stemmed from grassroots efforts with organizations like QDMA, NDA, to getting that into like the hunter safety book and stuff like that. So there was some of, New York DEC listening to that and getting that into the program to work with it. So I think a lot of people give the DEC and the state a bad rap. But they're doing the best with what data they have and what they have to manage. They have to manage a whole state. It's easy for us to say my deer herd sucks in my area because everybody's going to complain about something. I wish that there was less buck tags in my neighborhood. I wish there was less does taken or more does taken or whatever.
Then you gotta,
it's such a small sample size.
You go from the Catskills to the Adirondacks to the Finger Lakes to the Southern Tier
to the far west side by Buffalo, suburbs. It's so different.
It's all different.
Yeah. So I think we have the potential to rival any state score wise, but as to quantity, our hunters don't allow it. Our hunter numbers don't allow it. Unless you want to drop hunter numbers in New York by half, which I don't think would be even realistic or something I would vote to approve on. You're not going to, we're in the top three. We're in the top 3 for hunter numbers for a state in the entire nation.
And we're also in the top 10 in the entire nation of total deer population per state. We have an estimated number of 1.2 million whitetails in New York State. That's a top 10 state out of 50.
Mm-hmm.
So the chances of New York taking tags away, being a top 10 state in total deer numbers, is pretty slim.
Yep. Absolutely.
Texas being the most, just because Texas is like a third of the whole country. But
Bo says not in my part of the state. And that's where we talk about realistic. I'll be upfront and honest. out of the two of us, Nate shot the bigger deer, score-wise, if we're looking at score specifically. I can't get over that 150-inch mark. And I've killed some really nice deer, but it's not all about, you know, it's not all about the score.
Oh, you're talking about overall.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about this year.
No.
No. Overall in our lifetime, I have, I've killed a bigger buck. Yeah.
Score-wise. But
score-wise.
I don't think that's part. I don't think score. I think score is just a number. And I think age is just a number, and it's all relative to your area. You know.
I guess, I think deer are similar to people. It's all genetics. I mean, everyone's different. I mean, I'm 6 foot. How tall are you?
5'10", 5'11", maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I got my heels on tonight.
I mean, every person is different. You have taller people,
shorter people, wider people,
people with more muscle, people with bigger shoulders, people, small. Yeah, everybody's different. I think it's roughly kind of the same in the deer world. I mean, it's all everyone's genetic makeup is a little different.
Yep.
I mean, not every buck, if you pass them to be 6.5, is going to go 160 inches.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
Yep. Doesn't matter. And if you're holding out for 170-inch deer, that's a great goal. I wish you the best with that. But at the same time, if you're letting 5-6-year-old 130s walk by, you have to look at if you're going for score, you have to also look at age. You can't.
Yeah, because if you're playing the age game, I mean that 5.5-year-old,
130 inches,
130-inch, 25-inch
stud,
whatever, and then you got that 2.5-year-old, that could blow up maybe to be that 160. He's gonna get ran off.
Yep.
He ain't gonna hang around with that 260-pound 5.5-year-old
six-pointer
pushing him around on the property. Nope. He's going over. He's going somewhere else. He ain't hanging around if that's a dominant buck in the area. Nope. He's going to get postured off. He's going to get pushed off.
So, and like we say, some of the relative stuff I tell clients to look at is like your top 25% of bucks. Score-wise, age-wise, whatever number you set that at, that's where maybe you want to target. Or where I think that they can kill them at. Is that top 20, 25% is what you should be able to kill at on a well-hunted piece of property. Not necessarily just managed, but hunted smart and hunted well. You should be able to kill that top 20% every year or every other year, And
I think on average, from what I've seen, and I've been around hunting my whole life, in New York, I think the average 4 to 6-year-old does not go over 140 inches.
I'd be curious to see those numbers because I think you probably, and we kill some older bucks between the two of us. Our two oldest bucks, this is funny because I just realized this, our two oldest bucks scored the lowest of the 4 bucks that we've shot between the two of us this year.
Wow, we're not 100% sure how old he is. But a 4.5-year-old, Andy scored it for me last year, came in at 102 inches. Yep. My bull buck last year came in at 102 inches, and he came back as a 4.5-year-old.
From Deer Age.
From Deer Age Analytics.
Yep.
With the
Cemented Manual.
Yes.
Yep. So.
It's genetics.
Yep.
Genetics, it's food available, it's resources to the animal, it's stress on the animal.
It's all the above. So
what's your mom got to say there?
Back to the comments. Dad says 30 years between bow harvests. His choice. Also a good recipe for tag soup. Yeah, so Dad was almost 30 years between his last bow harvest with the buck he shot this year with the bow. So 30 years difference, his tag, his choice. So again, it's 100% your choice what you decide to shoot or tag. It just happened to be Dad tags 2 good bucks this year. But the last time he killed a buck is 2009. So, again, just because you have a tag doesn't mean you use it. That's a lot of years of paying property taxes.
Wow, yeah, it's a lot of years of Brian paying property taxes and just filling his freezer with does.
Yep.
But,
Yep.
I do have a thank you for Brian for my early Christmas gift. Thanks, Brian. This was great helping track my deer. Ben said you gave it to me for a Christmas present. No, I'm just messing with you. I'm getting it back to you, the Ben, tonight, Brian. So, so he'll be getting your light back to you. I actually found it in my hunting pack. I forgot it was there.
Yep. So, but Tom says Breckenridge is too far. Breckenridge out of Colorado. Have seen it distributed around the Finger Lakes of Central New York. I'll have to check it out, see if it's in Ryan's or one of them local liquor stores I go to.
Cool.
So, Tyler says it's about the journey, not the score. Absolutely love the stories, love everything that goes into it.
Tyler, I would 100% agree with you. That buck we scored tonight for you guys. I haven't been. You could ask Ben when I called him. I haven't been.
Wow.
I haven't been that jacked up over a deer, and I don't.
Wound for sound, dude.
In a while, I haven't had the shakes like that in a while. That was awesome. That was a cool story. I got tons of history of them too. I wouldn't say a ton of history, but I mean, this year, just going back from when I got my cameras out from August to when I harvested them, just the amount of pictures. I didn't even realize. I knew I had them on camera when I found them, but I didn't realize how many pictures I had of them because every time I save all my buck pictures into yearly files, and then after I harvest a buck, I go back and I look through all my pictures and take those pictures and just put it on a file called 2022 gun buck or 2021 bow buck. And I take all of the obvious trail cam pictures I have of that deer and I put them in a file. I couldn't believe actually the amount of pictures I had of that deer. It was pretty cool to kind of go back and look at it all, and it was definitely a fun story for me, and it was good. But yeah, definitely nothing about the journey, the struggles to get there, the all the prep and all the work you put into it, and then it actually pays off. It's definitely, I would agree with it. I'll get mine.
All right,
you go on to the next comment.
Gotcha. Tom says exactly. Do we have boon genes in the area? I've seen some hunters that track deer year to year, and some 6 and 7 year olds that won't ever get 140 plus. Yeah, we talked about St. Patrick, and I mean, I guess we'll never know what he scored at full, rack. We can guess him, but I don't think. I think
he's not 160.
He's not 160. I'll tell you that. But I don't know if he even hit that 40 mark. As a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, whatever he ended up being. So, it happens. And some of the guys, from Joe Hamilton will tell you that the average buck is going to be an 8-pointer, by the numbers. So if you have a 10-point gene in your area, you're not the normal. That normal is that 8-point 135 inch. That's kind of your average benchmark for areas. Different genetics, different ages, you're going to see differences in that, obviously, but some of these deer that, like you said, 6, 7 years old don't get over 140. It's 100% possible. A couple years back, I saw a 2-year-old buck, teeth nowhere, no nothing like that on him, and that deer went over 140 as a 2-year-old. So, where you draw the line with that, it's all individual based, like Nate said. Some guys are taller, some guys got more muscle, some guys are faster. Whatever you want to call it, it's all genetics and age with it. Are you tapping in more 15? It's a pretty good one, isn't it?
It is. That's probably.
Is that your favorite?
I think that's the smoothest whiskey I've ever sipped.
I figured that would be a good one for episode 15, the 15-year-old.
The old 15-year-old knob.
So Tyler says, if I tell my grandpa I shot a buck, he asks how much it weighed, not what it scored or how many points. Everyone scores a buck differently. 100%.
My grandfather has told me that you can't eat the antlers.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. I guess body-wise, I shot my biggest body deer this year.
Yeah.
My bow buck dressed out at 210.
Yep.
I was. I think that was the biggest deer. I've only been weighing deer for 2 years now because that's when I finally got my scale,
right,
and the winch and everything to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that's. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Ty. I think back in the day, people judged deer a little more by our grandfathers. I think they judged deer by the weight, not necessarily the rack size, where it's kind of evolved into more of the antler size.
Yeah, we've got talking about weight, lately. I mean,
it's fun to weigh them. It's just another.
Oh yeah, it's another thing that's cool to say about them. Absolutely, but
which I want to do next season. Whitetails and whiskey. I want everybody. We all got to get the same scale, and you can send in pictures. I want to do a big doe competition.
So doe comp for Whitetails
2023 deer season.
For 2023 deer season.
And then we all got to have, I think we're going to go with the HME scale.
HME green.
So you guys can, Christmas is coming up, birthdays next year.
Yep.
If anybody wants to get in on the doe competition, this is kind of last minute, but this is the HME scale, digital scale that I use. If you get one of these, when you can send in your numbers.
Yep.
And I think we
dress weight.
Yeah, a little dress weight. We can do a little giveaway for the largest doe harvest.
Largest doe harvested. Just send in your comments, send in your numbers, and I don't want to see
or
those.
Just give us feedback if you want to do it, or you think it's dumb, then we won't do it.
And I don't want to. And I guess this is the last talking point of the night. Just a pet peeve of mine. These 200-pound does. Where are they?
I haven't seen one.
I kill a lot of does. You kill a lot of does. We kill a lot of deer. We only had one deer in here, and we've weighed probably 30 in here now. 20, at least 20, maybe 30. We've only had one.
Friends and family the past 5 years? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Like so we've had one deer go over 200 dressed. One.
And that was, I'm thinking, a 5.5-year-old buck.
Yeah. One.
In late October bow season.
And what's the biggest doe we've had? 130-ish?
I think we had a 160 year. I think we had a 160 year last year.
Again, though, that's.
Well, I think it was 150, 160, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so I mean, my biggest I've ever taken was 167 dressed as a doe. The thing was a cow.
But 200 dressed.
200 dressed.
That's another 30 pounds.
I would love to see it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the scale picture. But I don't know. These 200-pound does, live weight, maybe. But it's not like you're shooting one every year. That's like a once-in-a-lifetime doe. A 200-pound doe is a once-in-a-lifetime deer.
I think a lot of those comments you see, whether it's on Facebook or whatever, I think it's just they don't weigh them. I think it's just them looking
feel
at
heavy
them
going in the back of the truck.
This thing's got to be 200 pounds. You know what I mean? I think that's more of what probably you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, last year, we, when me and Liza both weighed our does, Liza's weighed more, but mine was longer and looked way bigger in the picture, but Liza's weighed out more. And it was definitely a shorter deer, but she was just stockier, built more. Just happened to be. And I think she was like 120 and mine was like 115.
That's what we were. It goes back to what we were talking about. Deer have a little different genetic makeup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Russ.
I like Russ's comment here.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. It says doe weighs is going to be like the infamous fishing tournament we all heard about. Yeah, somebody's going to be shoving the 12-pack of Coors into the chest cavity.
So I got a funny story. So for my bachelor party a few years back, I decided to do it up at Black Lake, and me, my friends, my dad, and you want some?
Yeah, just a little bit.
And me, my friends, and my dad, we decided that we were going to do a bass tournament. It was, I believe we did it in early August. And, you know, biggest weight won. My brother, my buddy Jesse got a whole trophy made up and everything. And the heaviest weight got the trophy. So we're out there, and we had to weigh out. You get your biggest fish, you bring it in. We're all weighing it off of my scale. Well, my buddy comes in. He hands me his bass, and I don't know. I'm thinking it probably weighs a pound and a half. Put it on there. It's a little over 2 pounds. I was like, holy! All of a sudden, a crawdad comes crawling out of its mouth while it was on the. And then all of a sudden, another crawdad comes crawling out of its mouth. One of them crayfish.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, this thing must have been hung. Didn't even register that he was packing that thing full of every crawdad he had in his box. He admitted it to me. He didn't end up winning anyway. Someone else had a bigger fish. But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a funny story that reminded me of.
Stuffing them full for the fishing tournament.
But
Again,
no,
this is all
we're
good
gonna give
fun.
you guys the benefit of the doubt that you're not going to cheat. You guys are going to be fair with us.
Yep.
If we do see something astronomical, we might ask you to take a couple extra pictures.
Yeah.
you send us in a
230,
230-pound dressed doe. I might actually drive out to your house and see it.
And again, we're not going to be posting numbers or posting anything like that. We'll take all the numbers in, just like we do with the scores. We'll look at them, add them up,
write your name down, your weight, and we'll keep track of it for. Actually, you probably can keep track of it on your big whiteboard. Depending on how many 1-year rules you got going next year.
Yeah, we'll see. But, I mean, we got some up and comers, different properties, stuff like that. So,
but I've seen it on a couple different things. You know, this big doe thing, and I think something everybody could get in on, and we could do a little giveaway.
Yeah, dress doe contest.
That could be fun
for a limited release blue label hoodie.
Only one blue label hoodie. No.
Yeah, there's only one of them.
I think we'll make it something pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe a bottle of whiskey and a hoodie or something.
Yeah, a bottle of whiskey is always a good one. Which actually, this one will be added.
Worth it.
This will be added to the infinity bottle. Believe it or not, I'll dump a shot glass of that heavy shot we put in the infinity bottle, which we're getting pretty close. That 20th episode, I think, will be our filler episode. We'll figure out a giveaway for that. Yeah. For you guys. So me and Nate might take a little snort off the top of it and try it out maybe on the 20th episode and give you guys the rest of it.
But, yeah, it's filling up for sure.
Yeah, it's about there.
What are we doing to give that away?
I don't know.
You haven't figured it out yet?
I haven't figured it out. But, so, yeah, Russ says the 15 is a little pricey. You can get it for, an okay price. You got to shop around a little bit for it. I would say if you're going to, I guess, split the difference, the 12 is really good for the price. The 9 is extremely good for the price, but...
What's the 9? Like $60? $40?
No, you can get the 9. I bought a handle. A jumbo handle at Runnings, like a handle of 9-year. I think it was $67. No, that's not bad at all. So the 9's good. I
honestly think the 12.
You never had a 12.
No, I've had it. I think it's comparable to the 15.
Oh yeah, for the price difference, I would go with the 12 over the 15.
Is it
$50 a bottle more?
It's got that just little extra burn going down where this, you don't even have a burn. This just goes down.
Yep. Yeah. No. So, Knob 15 was just released recently. I know, Tom, I have my eye on a bottle of it. I won't say where, but I'm trying to convince my wife to let me buy it. There's a bottle of the Knob 18. I almost bought it the other day when you and me got recognized at the liquor store.
Aren't you guys for the podcast? We're like, what?
Yeah. What are you guys doing? Looking for whiskey? Yeah. Well, don't you guys have the podcast? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Me and my boyfriend watched that.
I look right at it. I'm like, people watch that?
But yeah. Yeah, the 12 is very good. 15 is good, but again, you're going to be up to that 50 plus more, a bottle. So, yeah. So Tom says I picked it up. I have the 9, 12, and 18. Haven't been able to find the 15. Well, if you get the infinity bottle, you'll get a little schwaggle in the infinity of
a lot more
of the 15 and some other interesting flavors in there as well that are kind of all marinating together. And
yeah.
But I think that's a good place to end it for the night. Double check on the YouTube line. We're all quiet on that line. Everybody on YouTube seems to go to bed early. But I want to thank everybody for sticking with us here on the podcast through our technical difficulties. We're all just
we were a little late tonight.
Well,
it was a little cold in the deer shed. We had to get the computer warmed up.
Computer had to warm up. We had to hold it over the top and warm it up a little bit. But so thank everyone for tuning in to the Whitetails and Whiskey podcast. I'm Ben Williams, Nate Pierce. And we're signing out till next week. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We do have hoodies still available, and we're taking orders on the green label badge.
The green label badge for the hoodies. Something else I do want to get a little feedback from you guys is now that the season's winding down, after the first of the year, me and Ben were tossing back and forth the idea of actually only putting out maybe 1 or 2 episodes a month until deer season starts picking up again.
Right.
Thoughts, takes. I mean, if you guys are still interested in the every week thing, I mean, we'll do our best.
Yep.
I think Ben could probably do it. I don't know in the off season if I'm going to be fully able to.
Yeah,
do it
we got
week.
leagues, everything else.
I got bow leagues. I got this, and then I know once summer rolls around, we got that side mowing job. That's another night.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, just some thoughts from you guys.
Maybe it goes to every other.
Maybe switch it to every other week or once a month until deer season starts ramping back up again, and then we'll go back to the every week. But I don't know, something to keep back in the back of your mind and just kind of let us know.
Yep.
But
till next week, guys.
We'll see you next week for sure.
Cheers.
See you.